Hey guys, good morning. Happy Tuesday. If you guys are celebrating Thanksgiving this week and you don't hear from me, on that exact day, I just wanted to say I hope that you have a good holiday surrounded by people that you love. And if you are not celebrating or it is a hard day for you, I just want you to know that you have all of my love and support. I am working because my son will be at his dad's this holiday. It's his turn for it. And so, you know, what I only ever do anything for holidays if it's something that my kid wants to do, anyways. I am not a holiday person. But so I was just like, wow. And plus, I forgot to even block off that time on the calendar, anyways. But, wasn't going to do anything. So I will be working. And if you did want an appointment that day, psychicbellalove.com, and you can use code THANKS for 50% off. I did our Black Friday sale early. So for those who are new here, because I am making this one public, this is what we call the Janky Podcast. I do these in Patreon, so I'm obviously not on camera. If you do hear rustling around in the background, I am actually putting on my makeup and getting ready for the live that we will be doing on my main channel later on. Sometimes the only way that I can get anything done is to multitask because my schedule is crazy. So anyways, so if you hear things moving around, that's what's going on. But I wanted to address a few things with you guys, and some of it was some of the questions that I got for the about me, and I will be doing a separate video answering the other ones, but I kind of wanted to put all the ones that pertained to being spiritual and psychic in one video, especially because some stuff has just been coming up lately in regards to all of us spiritual people. So, and just to preface this to say, these are my experiences. This is how I operate as a spiritual person and as somebody that has psychic abilities. Everybody has their own life, their own experiences, the own ways of how they perceive information and, how they work with things. So don't think that this, 100% like means that every single other reader out there, does the same things or whatever. So I'm trying to think of like, where do we start? Because you guys gave me some good questions. I think my favorite one was, and I believe Preston asked me this one, which was to talk about what experiences or what importance prayer plays in my life and sort of how do I utilize that. So, and this is what I always tell people, especially if you're on Patreon, that, if you, and this is not to take anything away from any other practice. Again, this is just in addition to or in place of, because a lot of times people feel like, well, I don't know if candles work for me or manifesting or this or that. Prayer is always what you can do in its place and in addition to anything else that you're doing. So, For me, number one, I start my day off with a prayer. I thank God for waking up. I pray protection over me, the people that I love, the people who follow and support me throughout my day, especially when I know that I have like clients or people that are close to me that are going through something. I will stop and say very specific prayers, in regards to whatever their situation is going on. But to be honest with you, outside of even doing my psychic work, I feel like I talk to God more than literally anybody else, including my own self. Because I just be in my head every time, like I'm walking outside, I'm just saying, oh, thank you, God, for the beautiful day. Thank you for protecting me. If I'm going somewhere, I'm asking that God puts his shield of protection over me and that I'm able to complete everything that I'm setting out to do, in the task of running my errands, and that I'll be safe during that. I say thank you to God a bazillion times a day for every little thing that I can remember to be grateful for and to say thank you for. So, I always tell everybody you don't have to like stop and get on your knees and face the west and have this big elaborate moment to pray. I'm just talking to God in my head all day, every day. But it brings me so much peace. I have, for those who don't know, CPTSD. So just having generalized anxiety is something that I have dealt with my whole entire life. I am far less likely to get a panic attack because something is actually happening, and more likely to just get really anxious kind of out of nowhere sometimes. And then I also have PCOS, so sometimes those hormone disruptions will also cause anxiety. So really getting comfortable with praying has been a huge way that I've been able to help control my anxiety more and kind of keep it at bay. But I just feel, like so at peace talking to God, and it's like anything that is worrying me or that I'm stressed out about or just is on my mind, I pray about it, and then it kind of feels like, okay, well, God's got it now, and that weight has been lifted off of me. Same way that I feel when I work with my ancestors too, because it's like, I know that, they have my back and they've heard what I've asked of them and they're going to get to work. So it's like, I just try to ask for the clarity of what am I supposed to do next while the universe does its part, and then focus on the part that I can control and that I can do, and try to have faith that it's being taken care of otherwise. So hopefully that kind of explains that. But regardless, if you really are going to get into doing spiritual work in any way, shape, or form, the two most important things are that you are comfortable with praying and that you work hard to understand how energy works, because everything in the universe is energy at the end of the day. And everything that you will do spiritually is connected to energy. So those are kind of the two most important things when it comes down to that, at least in my own personal opinion, and from what I have learned throughout my years of having mentors and studying on my own and all of that. So when it comes to, because somebody wanted to know, why can't I just book an appointment with you and make you channel Elvis for me? Listen, when it comes to spirits, they can actually be quite stubborn sometimes. And the thing is, just because a person has the ability to channel spirits does not mean that they can just force any spirit to come in and speak to them. So for instance, like as a client, if you call me and or any psychic person, that's able to do mediumship, and you are wanting to connect to, say, your grandpa that you were super close to when he was alive, then for sure he's going to probably come in and talk to you. But if you have absolutely zero connection to Elvis, and I certainly don't, my own self, we can't just demand that he come in and speak to us. So that's why I don't do, celebrity mediumship or just random mediumship on people that nobody has an actual connection to. It has to be that spirit says this spirit is willing to communicate with you, and then, I'll do the reading. And I only post celebrity mediumship readings in Patreon. So if you do want to view any of the ones that I have done, other than the first few that I posted on YouTube, you can go to patreon.com/psychicbellolove. But yeah, that's kind of how I personally choose to operate when it comes to those things. Again, everybody has their own different set of moral code and rules, but I notice, that when a spirit chooses that they want to come in on their own and speak, and again, this is in regards to celebrities, not personal client mediumship readings. When it's under their control and their terms, that's when they're going to share so much more. So yesterday I had posted a video in Patreon connecting to the energy around Kim Porter. So when it comes to her, she still hasn't entirely gotten over her trust issues that she had on this side that she developed because of dealing with Diddy and the shit that he would do to her. So because of that, and then everybody right now is pulling on her energy and wanting to, know her side of things and what else does she got to share and how does she feel about this. She was not willing to directly come in, but she let spirit communicate to me on her behalf. So it was more of an energy reading surrounding her spirit rather than communicating directly with her spirit. So, but that's also why, she only went into certain aspects in that reading, because she's not in a place where she just wants to communicate with anybody and everybody right now. And, we respect that. The same way that we respect people who are walking around in this lifetime, we also got to have the same, if not more, amount of respect for crossed over spirits. So, and that's also why I don't do any kind of mediumship reading immediately when somebody passes either, because their soul is trying to, come to terms with what happened. They're trying to completely cross over and get used to their new form and all of that. And so it's selfish of us, when at the end of the day it really is, more an entertainment aspect of it, to want to communicate with that spirit and see what they're up to and how they feel and what happened and all of that. That's really selfish to try to demand all those things when a soul is trying to cross over to the other side. And especially something, when Triple X Tentacion died, everybody and their grandma on the internet was trying to channel that man. And because of the way that he passed so unexpectedly and shockingly, his soul was trying so hard to grasp that he was gone, and he kept on a soul level trying to kind of relive Groundhog Day and keep going back and starting that day over and get a different outcome out of it. And then you've got everybody and their grandma pulling on him when he's already having a hard ass time crossing over. And so I just remember that time, and I wasn't on YouTube then, I was on Instagram. That's where I used to do the readings that I do now on YouTube. But I remember seeing a lot of other readers like that did have some moral compass to them start speaking up and saying, you know, like, stop asking everybody to channel this man, let his soul have it. It's time to do what it needs to do, and you're completely unethical if you're dragging on this man at this time. So I've always felt that way anyways, but that whole situation and just seeing kind of, you know, what everybody was doing and all of that at that moment, I really saw firsthand like how detrimental that is. And it just 100% reinforced in me that like we can always wait. We don't need to be so impatient that we start creating bad karma for ourselves because we're impeding on another soul's journey. And there is nothing more sacred when it comes to what your soul goes through. I'm not saying more important, I'm saying sacred, than being birthed into a lifetime and leaving a lifetime. Because your soul has to go through a huge transition to a different energy and a different atmosphere in both of those moments. And so that's why they need to be so sacred and respected and not interfered with in negative ways, if it can be helped. So anyways, and then somebody else asked me how it affects me in my personal life, like my friendships and dating and things like that, being psychic. So for the most part, when it comes to my dating life, it's not that big of a deal. I'm very upfront with the people I date about what I do for a living and what my beliefs are, because I know that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that, you know, somebody is very conservatively Christian. Like, we're not going to have an amazing relationship, and we need to know that about each other from the get-go. So, you know, that part, it's like, there's very few guys that are like, oh my God. And the ones that do say stupid shit like, oh, I could never get away with lying to you. It's like, well, you already told me that you're a fucking liar. Why is that even something that you would think of or be worried about? So thanks for the heads up, so that way I don't waste a second more of my time, you know, talking to you or whatever. But the only thing that I think might be, you know, a little bit more difficult is, number one, there are very few straight male witches and psychics and men in this industry, and the ones that are already married usually. So I'm not, you know, stuck on like, oh, they have to be too or anything like that. I don't even care about like, oh, you have to be a certain like place in your own spiritual journey or anything like that. But where I will draw the line is, I am not going to be your spiritual teacher and mentor and all of that, because the same way that, you know, I'm not going to be some man's mommy, the same way that I'm not going to be some man's therapist or maid, because that's not a healthy relationship, and that's not something that I want to take on. And even, therapists, they don't treat their own family members. Doctors don't treat their own family members for a real good reason. So I, keep that same energy when it comes to my dating life. Of there's certain things I'm just, I'll be your partner, I'll be your best friend, but I can't fix you, I can't heal you, and I certainly don't want to be your spiritual guru. Same thing though, like if I was dating somebody and say that they were like really great at tech stuff, here and there, yeah, show me how to do something, but I don't want you to sit there and have like fucking tech 101 classes with me every time that we spend time together, that I feel like I'm back in school, like, because then it takes the focus off our relationship and puts a weird power dynamic in its place of student and teacher, rather than just equal partners, male and female and masculine and feminine. So it's like we can do some things together and we can have conversations, but if you expect me to become your teacher and all of that, then we're going to have a very weird power dynamic, and it's just not going to work out. And I have air and fire stelliums in me, so I can very easily, even though I feel like I'm a very feminine and girly person, but I also know I can get very hyper independent and lean very hard into masculine energy when I lose respect for a man, or I feel like I'm put in the position of having to be the leader in the relationship. And so then things get weird and it's just not good. And so because I am very self-aware about those things, and I don't want to ever go into that shadow energy again in my life, I know that like I have to look for somebody that has a very strong energy, their own self, and who is, willing to, if they want to go down the spiritual path, put in their own work to do it and find their own ways of learning and stuff, and not just being dependent on me constantly. So I think that that's kind of maybe the only way that I really kind of look at it differently. As far as friends go, I'm not going to lie, sometimes it is hard for me to make new friends, not because people have an issue with what I do, but one and two things happens in those dynamics that has made me, kind of be like, I gotta be a little more careful about who I want to be friends with, because it'll start off with them being like, oh, here, I'm going to pay you for a reading, hoping that I'm going to say, no, keep your money. And listen, if my friend has a business, I'm going to pay full price. I'm not going to go in there expecting free shit. I'm not going to expect that they need to give me humongous discounts on anything, because I respect what they're doing and I respect their time and all of that. So, and just for boundaries sakes, I'm like, nope, you still have to make an appointment like everybody else and pay like everybody else. Just trying to kind of keep those boundaries up. But what happens is, this isn't all the time, it's just I've had this happen too many times. And every psychic will tell you the same thing has happened to them, where, it goes from, okay, yeah, I'm going to make appointments, because they always start off doing that. So then all of a sudden it becomes, we're on the phone talking about something else. And it's like, oh, real quick, since I have you on the phone, can I just ask you, I just applied to this job. I'm really nervous, and then it starts becoming trying to slip in questions here and there to then in the worst case scenarios, the only time that you then start to hear from that person, or every time you hear from that person, they're just trying to basically get a reading out of you. And, obviously that sucks. And then, or a lot of times, they may be, spiritually gifted themselves, but they haven't 100% delved down the path of, I'm giving healings to people or readings to people, but I've been practicing or whatever. And so then it's like they kind of glom onto you to learn how did you do this, and how have you been able to maintain that you didn't have to go back to your day job and that kind of stuff. And then, it starts off wonderful and you're not competitive with that person and you're excited for their journey and you're trying to help them set up their business. And then all of a sudden they see you as competition and some sort of a threat. And then they turn on you. So, kind of like when Nicki Minaj collaborates with these new artists and they're all, Nicki's my favorite person ever. And then, as soon as they get the collaboration from her, she's the Wicked Witch of the West. And or if she doesn't give it to them immediately, she's the Wicked Witch of the West. So it's just like, that happens. I think in every business, there's always going to be people who are going to try to take advantage, or maybe that wasn't their intention in the first place, but then they found themselves slipping into that energy just because they have access to you. But, as the person that's had to deal with that, it's obviously not fun because it just makes you sit there and be like, damn, like, I was all about love with you, but apparently you just saw me as a commodity. So, yeah. And what's the baby doing? Here comes Whitney. Careful, mama. Okay. She was trying to get up on the counter with me, and she knows that she is not supposed to do that. So then she kind of stopped halfway through, and I was like, what is she going to do? So anyways, guys, those were just some of the questions. Like I said, there will be a separate All About Me video coming soon. Also, if you want to join us on Patreon, it is patreon.com/psychicbellalove. And I do have videos that I will be recording about Diddy and Cassie and that whole situation. They will be uploaded separately. They will be recorded separately. But that is coming. It'll be on the main channel. So make sure you are subscribed over there and have your notifications on. Anyways, guys, love you. I hope everybody has a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.